My name is Ann Hyde Dunsmore. I am the interim chair of Rescue California, and we are announcing today our support and the primary effort behind the newly released petition from the AG's office from Title and Summary, which we will be referring to as Stop, Smash, and Grab Initiative. Very quickly, and I think some of you already seen this. It's very simple. It basically has three provisions in it. I'm going to summarize by reading it specifically. It reintroduces a number of measures that had been previously deconstructed by either the legislature or by Prop 47. And it addresses theft crimes, including shoplifting and retail theft, as well as obviously smash and grab thefts, car break-ins, and porch piracy. There are three key elements to it. It increases penalties for shoplifting and retail petty theft when the thief has 2 or more prior convictions for theft-related crime. These were overturned in large part or eliminated by Prop 47 in 2014. It increases penalties for persons convicted of retail theft when the dollar value of the property stolen or damaged caused is $50,000 or more. Finally, number 3, it authorizes any district attorney from any county in which a theft crime was planned or otherwise involved in to prosecute such crimes. For example, if you stole it in LA or San Francisco, where district attorneys refuse to prosecute, but it is stored or sold in a neighboring tough on crime county, then they will be prosecuted. We need a minimum of 623,000 signatures. In my estimation, it means we need to gather approximately a minimum of $800,000 in order to submit enough valid signatures to get this on a statewide ballot in November. I want to just say that we are all familiar with the fact, and we've been briefing fairly frequently from Rescue California about the status of crime in California. And I think you're all aware of how bad it's gotten. I think there was a number that it's increased in some counties by as much as 94%. On the call with me today are people that have worked hard with Rescue California for quite some time. My two co-chairs, Marc Klaas, Polly Klaas's father, and one of the biggest advocates for crime victims in the country. And I want to thank Marc for all the work that he's done and the loss that he has had to endure. And I appreciate your being here, Marc. We have Angela Marsden, who became very well known for her restaurant closure during COVID, at the beginning of COVID. But now, and most importantly, are the additional things that she has had to suffer through, and her neighboring retail, her neighbors in the location that she's at, and what they've been suffering as a result of crime. And you have to all agree that the current situation is completely out of control, that soft on crime politicians are actually responding to the crisis by making it easier on the criminals, and in fact, continuing to release them onto the street. These things have created a situation where there's store closures, bankruptcies, loss of jobs, and in some cases, even loss of life. And on Monday, I have to say, more recently in Los Angeles, there's a new version of Smash, which is using a car to smash into another car to rob the driver of a watch in Los Angeles at gunpoint. And yet, all we see in response is legislators cleaning up train tracks of trash that are basically left there by criminals that have been released from prison. So it's just right. It's finding its way into so many aspects of the dwindling quality of life in California, including a very fragile supply chain. The economics of it are disastrous, and we're finding ourselves yet again at the top of another bad list to be on, which is one of the worst states in the country on crime. Marc, I leave you to make a few remarks, and then Angela, you, and then we'll move straight to Q&A. I want to live up to my promise that this one will be a 15-minute interview. We will have questions, and I want to encourage everybody to feel free. I'm free all afternoon if you want to call me on my cell phone with additional questions. Brandon, if you'll type my cell phone number and email address into the chat room, then you guys can give me a call. Marc, thanks so much for being here and for being with the citizens of California as we now move on to this new citizen movement.
Sure thing. Well, thank you so much, Ann, and thank you everybody for being here. The last time California's criminal justice system failed to hold criminals responsible for their behavior, back in the mid-90s, my 12-year-old daughter, Polly, was kidnapped, raped, and murdered by a recidivist offender who never had been held accountable for his criminal activity, at least to any kind of a serious point. As a result, his felonious behavior escalated to the point that my child was victimized to the point of tortured extinction. A decade of criminal justice reform based on responsibility and accountability cut California's crime rate in half. Unfortunately, for the past decade, California's criminal justice system has once again descended into chaos, resulting in increased criminal activity and the undermining of public safety. The Stop, Smash, and Grab proposition does three important things. It does give DAs the ability to work together en masse to stop this activity. It also gives Californians an opportunity to stand their ground against a criminal community that has become more brazen and dangerous by undermining public safety, negatively impacting California's economy by forcing businesses to cover their own security costs, higher insurance costs, or, as Ann mentioned, in many instances, closing their doors permanently. It also sends a clear message to the criminal community that they will be held accountable for their criminal behavior through sentence enhancements based on criminal history. Lowering the threshold from felony theft from $950 to $400 will deter crime by heightening the risk factor to the point that crime simply is not worth the risk. In other words, crime, again, doesn't pay. We should stop the chaos now by signing and supporting the Stop, Smash, and Grab proposition. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Marc. Angela, thank you for being here and for everything that you do. Oh, you're muted.
There, am I better?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Marc, and everybody for being here. I am so happy that you guys are trying to get this initiative passed. It's something to battle what we're facing. I mean, I live in Los Angeles. I'm a business owner in Los Angeles. I can tell you right now, between armed robberies, stores being robbed, you know, people being accosted, the malls having, you know, smash and grab, it's out of control. It has been for a while. And hopefully this is something where we can get around the crazy DA that we have here and in San Francisco. Obviously, this is not working. It hasn't been working. It only promotes more crime. We've had just 2 weeks ago, there was a gentleman shopping at Ralph's who was beat up, accosted, his groceries stolen. We had the young girl that was stabbed in the furniture store, and all these minor things that we are allowing to happen without any consequences lead to these bigger things. I've had an armed robbery across the street from my business. I had a T-Mobile employee beat up. Most of the businesses around me have been robbed. It's out of control. There was a chicken wing place where armed gunmen just went up to a table, broad daylight, brazenly put their gun low enough for the table to see and rob them. And why am I saying all this? It's not smash and grab. It's about people standing up for California and going, hey, if we can't get rid of Gascon, if we can't get rid of Chesa Boudin, we need to start taking action with other laws. I mean, I've been told of a gentleman that has a store that has priced everything at $999. And then when you get up there, he gives you a discounted coupon to the actual price, because he himself is trying to figure out how do I keep my store afloat, and how do I keep from being robbed? And the robberies always end up getting more and more progressive, where people get hurt and people get killed. And we need help. And this is a tool that nobody's really thought of. It's a different way of going about it, instead of trying to recall, which I still want gas going out. But we got to start fighting from other ways, and it's a timely event, Anne, that you're doing it today. I just listened to the widow of the officer in New York who was killed, and all the police officers that are out there. I was in tears. And these passive aggressive, we're trying to reform laws that they're putting out that go against the laws that we have in the books, are leading up to these other events. They're the gateway drug, so to speak, to these other events. And it is up to us, it's up to the news, it's up to people to get the word out and try to fight back any way we can. And right now, this stop and grab initiative would be a way that we can fight back. And the signatures that we need, I believe, are very doable. So I'm very happy to be here and proud of working with the team I'm working with, and thankful for the media that is here, because we have to do something,
Yes, and I think that with crime being the key issue now in the state, I think it's important that all the candidates out there, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green Party, that we are all working together. This is not a partisan issue. A very dear friend of mine is on the phone here today. He's decided to take the step to run, but he is not here today as a candidate, nor does his appearance on this particular Zoom call imply an endorsement at all. We do not endorse candidates. However, his knowledge of what is going on in the streets from a front row seat, and this is a man who takes bullets as a part of his daily job. I'd like to introduce Josiah O'Neill, who is a deputy sheriff in Vista and was present and part of the force that dealt with the burning of buildings in San Diego not too long ago. Josiah, just a couple minutes so we can keep it on track. I want to do some questions.
And thanks for having me on the call. This is a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, and it has been for a long time. I have about 20 years in public service, and I've seen the steady decline of our cities and our neighborhoods due to bad policy decisions. I'm really excited about what we're doing here with this initiative, because it's the first positive step back towards sanity. The crime, and statistics will show, is completely out of control. When we rolled out Prop 47 in 2014, there were financial reasons for doing so. We saw an immediate uptick in violent crime and property crime throughout the state. And this is a fantastic initiative to get back to common sense. As you mentioned earlier, the smash and grabs are completely out of control. Our recent stats from San Francisco all the way to San Diego. In San Diego City alone, down here where I'm at, there was a 129% increase in violent crime involving firearms on the street. And here's the bottom line. When we stopped holding criminals accountable for property crimes like thefts and smash and grabs, this is what I hear on a daily basis. We will go out, we'll deal with these criminals, we'll arrest them, and they in no uncertain terms tell us it doesn't matter. No one's going to hold me accountable. I won't get any harsh sentencing. Oftentimes, under this dollar value for property crimes, they're simply given a ticket and released right there in the parking lot of a store or a home, etc. And when they do go to court, there's such a problem with maintaining criminals in jail these days that they're back out on the streets. Recidivism is ridiculously high. And I am 100% behind this initiative. You're right. It's not a partisan issue. It's not about what party you vote for. This is a public safety. This is a crime problem that needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Josiah. I think you told me a quick story about you arrested the same person in a matter of weeks, twice for burglary, and then the third time he stabbed somebody in the face, I believe. This is the kind of escalation that Angela was talking about. I want to move quickly over to Phil at the LA Times. You asked a question. If you all want to put your questions into the chat room, you can. Phil, why don't you go ahead and ask the questions out loud, and I invite you to unmute yourself.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the time. I had two questions. One is kind of a nuts and bolts question. Are
Sure.
you going to use paid signature gatherers, or you can use volunteers?
Well, we're going to use a combination of things. For now, paid signatures is nothing but a last resort because it is in some cases preemptively expensive. Those usually run, they start at $4 and end up being $10 a signature, and all of a sudden you've tripled your budget. So we at Rescue California have a history of going straight to the voters. We will be working on direct mail, email, and volunteers. And we have, as you know, we have an extensive network of volunteers.
Great, thank you. And I mean, obviously, Prop 47 has come under heavy criticism recently and for years. The reality, though, is for a felony threshold for theft, California is, I mean, half the states in the U.S. are above California. Texas is $2,500. So I guess, why is the increase in the threshold in California to blame here, but not elsewhere?
Well, I think everybody agrees that once the threshold got lifted, I think the biggest part of it was stripping away everything else, the priors, 3 strikes, all of those things, and add to it prosecutors who refuse to prosecute. So, I mean, that's a simple answer, but California is not Texas. We have crime rates that are 10 times worse than, I don't know, 10 times, but significantly worse than anywhere else. We're at the top of the list. So what is happening is definitely an uptick in the problem. What that says to me is that we had, and Marc can comment on this quite articulately, and so can Josiah, if you'd like each of them, just guys, 1 or 2 sentences. But we had, when Marc got into the crime fighting, crime victim advocacy, sadly, because of the loss of his daughter. Marc, go ahead. I mean, it took a few years for us to slow down crime. And now we're right back to square one. Everything that they worked on from a crime victim standpoint, it was rendered obsolete. Go ahead, Marc.
Well, sure. I mean, beginning with AB 109, and then a whole series of laws after that, including Prop 57, including Prop 47, really undermine the criminal justice system to the point that we're at right now, where there is no accountability. As the sheriff just mentioned a few moments ago, they're giving tickets to the people that are robbing the stores in the parking lot of the stores. There are efforts to eliminate cash bail in this state. We're in a situation just like we were back in the mid-90s, where somebody like Richard Allen Davis, a previously diagnosed sexually sadistic psychopath, is able to get back out on the streets time after time after time again and never be held accountable for his actions. And what we did after that, with 3 strikes, with President Clinton's crime bill, which affected the whole nation, with 1020 life gun law, is put some responsibility back into the system and ensure that the people that are committing the crimes are going to be held accountable for them, are going to be in prison for a good long time. And so, no, I was going
to that, Phil, you have to, what Marc's describing is everything's different. It's like in medicine, you refer to people sometimes just don't die of one thing. There are comorbidities. In California, we have a series of situations that are not similar to any other state. I would ask you to look at the enhancement laws in other states when you make a decision on, why is ours need to be, lower when everybody else's is higher. Look at the existing laws that they have that take care of it other ways. Josiah, 1 minute for you in response to Phil's question.
Yeah, I'd like to address that directly, and some of it was covered, but it really started with AB 109. It wasn't an effort to address the humanity of incarceration. It was a clear response to overspending. And what AB 109 did is released thousands upon thousands of people, and there was recidivism as high as 75% within the first 30 days. So it was a failure. The response to AB 109 was Prop 47. Now, we'd be amiss to not mention that it's really twofold. It did reduce the quantities and charges allowed for property crimes. But what Prop 47 also did was reduce the charges for hard narcotics. And that, as we all know, is what drives the property crimes. So Prop 47 was so damaging to our citizens as they were really sacrificed on the altar of overspending.
I'd like to also, just for a little homework, Phil, Texas is the highest threshold, but New Jersey's $200 and Illinois, Kentucky, New Mexico are 500. I mean, it really runs all over the gamut, but California is California, and the laws as they are today are not working. They're actually helping criminals.
Can I just give Phil,
Just
I'm going to give you kind of a real life experience. Okay. So I have a group of 10 people come into my pub, and mainly all guys. I have a busy pub. I have a group of 5 guys at the bar. One of the girls in the group of 10 guys gets up and steals a leather jacket from one of the 5 guys that are sitting at the bar. She comes up like she's getting a drink. She grabs the jacket. All of a sudden, this expensive leather jacket's missing from my customer. They're freaking out. I have cameras inside. I go and look at the cameras. I see who it is. I go over to the table. The girl says, "Oh, I didn't take it. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere." Now I've got 10 guys who are trying to protect the girl they're with, and 5 guys that know that she's the one that took it, because I know who took it, that want to beat them up. So I literally pull one of the guys of the 10 and bring him into my office. I show him the footage. I said, I'm not against the girl that you're with. I just need her to please return the jacket and leave, so there's not a bar brawl. Nobody gets killed. Nobody gets hurt. Well, the girl refuses to leave. So now I've got to call the police. The police take an hour. And when they get there, in between that time, she puts the jacket back on the hook. They will not remove her from my bar. The police say they can't do anything about it. So now I got 5 guys that want to get in a brawl with 10 guys in the middle of a busy bar. And I literally have to beg the police, because it's not, first of all, it was returned. And second of all, it's under $900 and whatever dollars, right? So now I've got to tell the police, if you leave, I'm going to sue you for liability, because I'm going to have a bar brawl. Somebody is going to get hurt. Somebody could be dead, but you cannot leave me in this mess. And basically they got the girl outside. They talked her down, and it was her friends that got rid of her. But this is a minor incursion. This isn't like CVS with the guy dressed as Santa Claus comes in and fills his bag and then goes to leave. And if the CVS security guard says anything, he gets stabbed. I mean, it's just a progression of things. And
I wanted
something. Sorry, but that's just
no
real
worries.
life.
No worries. The next is, I don't have any other questions in here, but I promised to be done at 1:15. But I do, Phil, does that kind of help you at all? Answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Do I have anybody else? You can either raise your hand, which I think I'll see, or you can put something in the chat room, or you can call me on my cell or email me later. Anybody? Okay. We do have our Brandon will go ahead and put our website address in here so you can look at the petition itself. We will start circulating as soon as this weekend. As in fact, we have already started sending out emails and doing electronic outreach on that as well. So we look forward to keeping everybody up to date, and we look forward to keeping all candidates in this election cycle and in this legislative cycle accountable for their recognition of a problem that needs serious solutions right now, not next year, not proposals that can get shelved, not any political checklist that allows people to say, oh, well, we've got a different solution. This is the people's solution, again, because they're not represented well on crime in the state legislature, and in some cases in their own local jurisdictions. With that, I want to really thank everybody for taking the time to get on the call. And it's 1:24. I overstepped by 9 minutes. My apologies. Thank you, everybody. Angela, Josiah, Mark, all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.